Do you get those weeks when it feels that they, the powers that ought not to be, are trying to frazzle your brain with information overload? I am having one of those, and not for the first time. Before I launch into this week's monologue, I want to give you a reminder to check out my patreon.com presence. As a member there, you get access to an exclusive question and answer session, which seems to go down very well with all those who attend. We film it every week. And you also get early access to all my stuff, all my content. Plus, you help support this channel and make sure it keeps running. The members on the site are a great bunch, honestly. I mix with them all the time. So come along and join and make it even better by being there too. All of that said and done, strap in for the next monologue. Christians are being slaughtered in Syria and elsewhere, make no mistake. This is not news. The slaughter of Christians is literally never news. Certainly not the kind of news that makes front pages and gets monologues from mainstream anchors. In the short term, Christians have been being murdered in Syria, that benighted place, on an industrial scale since the end of last year, when Abu Muhammad al-Julani, an al-Qaeda butcher and terrorist, took control of what was allowed to remain of the country of Syria after the fall of Bashar al-Assad. Syria has been a home to Christians and Christianity since the beginning of the religion. Damascus might be the oldest capital city in the world and was once home to many Christians living peaceably among many faiths. Not anymore. Soon there may be no Christians in Syria at all. Soon enough there may be no Christians in the so-called Holy Land. Somewhere, it feels, an unholy clock is ticking down on Christianity. Christians, Alawites and other minorities, all being hunted down and murdered by Julani's fellow head choppers, throat cutters and gunmen. But in the longer term, it's been about murdering Christians all over the place for the last 2,000 years. Christianity, of all the great faiths, has been in the crosshairs, marked for deletion from the world since the life and death of Jesus. There are all sorts of numbers offered by different authorities for the death toll this year, last year, ever. But when it comes to the slaughter of men, women and children, I think it's fair to say numbers invariably serve the living rather than the dead. Christians have been wholesale slaughtered all over what used to be Christendom. Christendom, the land of the Christians, used to take in North Africa and much of the Middle East. By far the largest part in terms of people and surface area was in those territories. By now, Christendom, if you can still use the term, is reduced to a rump in Europe. That part of Christendom that was, for the longest time, regarded by the rest of Christendom as a primitive backwater. Those Christians that yet survive in Africa and the Middle East are being steadily done away with. This process has been going on, as I say, for centuries. The marks of Christianity, the stuff of Christianity, churches and cathedrals are being erased too. Hundreds of such buildings, every year, one smoking ruin after another, across Europe too. And that's not counting those abandoned churches, devoid of congregations, that are repurposed for whatever, for dwellings, for pubs, for climbing walls. Despite the scale and duration of the effort to murder Christians and remove churches, it's a process that goes largely unremarked. There's a bespoke word for hating and targeting Jews and Judaism. There's another word for the tormenting of Muslims and Islam, but none specifically descriptive of the methodical murder of Christians and the erasure of Christianity. Talk about turn the other cheek. You might call it the banality of evil, but in every way that matters, no one appears to care. There are patterns to the attack on that one faith, discernible and undeniable. In the aftermath of the French Revolution, Christianity and Christians were targeted in large numbers. The people murdered, the places and the rituals, the cross itself mocked and misused. Judas, who betrayed Jesus for 30 pieces of silver, was made a saint. The French king's head was cut off, and that of his wife. In the immediate aftermath of the Russian Revolution, it was the same. Millions of Christians murdered, the sacred places, symbols and practices mocked, spat upon, trampled. Again, Judas was made a saint. The Tsar and his family, at least according to the official account, were butchered. A person might wonder why all of this is so. I say the answer lies in the worship of a different God. Jesus said his Father was altogether different. When it was decided by a majority of the early church leaders to bolt the Old Testament onto the New to make one holy Bible, early Christian theologian Origen was appalled and said so. The God of the Old Testament was vengeful, insisting on all manner of atrocity in his name. Over and over the command was to utterly destroy. Those very words. It wasn't about right and wrong, but about unquestioning obedience in return for earthly rewards. So, asked Jesus in his time, what kind of father? Whatever the reason, Christianity has proven to be a problem in need of a determined solution. All that love thy neighbour malarkey? Apparently not. In any event, right now this minute, Christians are being murdered in great numbers, just as they invariably have been. And as is traditional, you might say, we don't talk about it. I'm always in the business of pointing out that I'm no expert, not on anything. I'm not a theologian either, but the determined and undeniable destruction and deletion of Christians and Christianity is something I cannot overlook. Christians die and Christianity itself is under sustained attack century after century and no one seems to care. Only the dead have seen the end of it. Julan in Syria. To be fair, he doesn't answer to that name anymore. Having sought to distance himself from his jihadist past, he has dropped what was a nom de guerre and reverted to his given name, which is Ahmed al-Sharaa. He has reinvented himself without a doubt. These days he wears sharp suits and a conspicuous wristwatch. More to the point, he's the darling of world leaders, our own British Prime Minister included, who line up to shake his hand and have their photos taken with him. Back in May, US President Donald Trump sat with Julan, Sharaa, whichever you prefer, in the Saudi royal palace in Riyadh. The Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman was alongside and the Turkish President Erdogan joined the meeting by phone. Afterwards, Trump told reporters, I think he has got the potential. To which I might have responded, potential for what? Recent history showed he would oversee a Syria in which Christians and other minorities, men, women and children have been hunted down and butchered in their homes and in the street. The most powerful man in the world also described the Syrian leader, again I'm quoting here, as quite amazing, tough guy, very strong past, a great young attractive guy. Well, as we used to say in Christendom, handsome is as handsome does. There's so much going on all at once now. It's hard to know what to pay most attention to. I say that whatever comes out of the mouths of so-called leaders, that it's never about what they say it's about. I say the confected chaos all around, the relentless, cynical, calculated and infinitely cruel push for race war, religious war, ideological war, nuclear war is part of distracting us from some existential threat that evidently confronts the self-proclaimed elite now and has them in a proper panic. It seems clear to me that when all is said and done, it'll be about money, how to hold on to it. It's about control, how to have all of that. It's anti-human, right down at the level where humanity must be cut back to more manageable numbers that can be herded into the feudalism from which our ancestors escaped. In no small way, perhaps in a way that matters absolutely and profoundly and fundamentally, Christianity gets in the way of the anti-humanists with its message of loving the neighbours regardless of colour or creed. Simple, truthful messages attract attention from the sort of people you don't want to be left alone with. What is happening to Christians is a warning of the fate that awaits all if the world does not wake up to the glaring truth that just because some of us appear paranoid doesn't mean the few aren't out to get the rest of us.